It's interesting that we don't talk a lot about that, but Dan and Quinn and Mark Erie, you don't really know about them until you don't have one of them, and then they get talked about a lot. And we take those guys for granted. Their ability to snap, the holder with Wes, the ability to hold and reliability, that you can trust them in key situations, and Dan and Quinn are big-time weapons for us. Dan's been good for us, and then, when Quinn kicks that ball out of the end zone, everybody can take a deep breath, especially when you get in league play. Everybody's got guys that can catch it and go, but they're weapons, no question.
You've had last week you had 7 freshmen on the kick coverage. Mm-hmm. Are you just going to stay with them and get better with them, or are you going to restock it a little bit somehow?
I'm going to stay with them. That discussion's been brought up, though.
Blowing it up.
So you were wiretapping our staff room. Yeah, we're going to stay with them. There's always a real fine line there, Bill, of you can put all your starters on there and run them down during the game, but they may have to run down 8 times full speed, and then you have to practice them all week during it. So you only have so many times that those guys can run down the field, and we want to cover kicks much better. We want to block on our return game much better. Those are 2 areas that we're working hard on this week. But right now we believe that we need to stay with the guys that are on there. They have made some mistakes. They've not fit properly. They've not adjusted to certain blocking schemes, but we're going to continue to coach them and try to get them better. We think in the long run it's overall better for our team with those guys out there right now.
Mike, with Quinn putting, as I think he's put every single kickoff at least in the end zone, and you've got so many freshmen who are used to, when they're in high school, they see a kid go in the end zone, it's not coming out. Could that be affecting them a little bit when they see the ball go into the end zone and the receiver retreating back to the end zone, that they maybe let up just a little bit?
I would like to agree with you, but they've been told on numerous occasions that they have to get down there and cover and do not let it affect them. That's been brought up several times, and so they should be out of that phase now. That they know that some of these guys will bring it out from 6 deep.
Mike, if Quinn Sharp wasn't so good kicking off and punting, would you be a little more hesitant to have so many young guys covering, because there's a little built-in advantage there?
That's correct. If we didn't feel like that the majority of the balls would have good hang time or be somewhere around the goal line, we would have to make some adjustments.
Coach, is this the best Texas A&M team you've seen since you've been head coach?
I think this team is better than last year's team, but it's hard for me to go that far back. I wish I paid enough attention to it, but I'll say that this year's team, in my opinion, is playing much better than the team they had last year. That's just my opinion. I mean, Coach Sherman and his staff may feel different.
How surprising is it to look out there and not only see Andrew McGee playing after what he's been through, but playing at the level he is right now?
Well, it's very surprising, but Andrew is a special person. His faith is so strong that when he was injured last year, from day one, he never doubted his ability to come back and play and his opportunity. Sometimes your surgeons and your doctors in the medical field and your coaches will carry on a conversation with a young man like that and kind of lean toward, you had a great career and look forward to graduating and all that. And with him, that was not acceptable from day one. And he just believes in himself, has very strong faith, and when you do that, you can do things different than other people can.
Because of all that you went through that week, is the A&M win last year, are you proud of that one?
Well, A&M was a great win for us last year. One, because it was on the road, and we went through, we had some tough situations, and players were able to overcome some adversity and get started and on the right foot at that point in the season.
Kevin mentioned earlier that some of the players are going to St. Francis Hospital in Tulsa. Some of your receivers have been corresponding with military men and women. How important is that to you and the program that they're involved in these activities, and why is that important, I guess?
Well, I think all of us have a responsibility that if we can support or help somebody else in the position we're in, we need to do it and feel grateful we're in that position. Our players some of them come from a background where that's instilled in them, some of them don't. And it's our job as coaches to make sure they understand that if they have a chance to give back, they need to do it. And they've gone to hospitals throughout the summer. We have some ties in with special spectators. We had them here last week on some young kids that don't have the same opportunities other young kids do. We do some things for them, but our players are involved in community. We're involved in FCA. We're involved in going to hospitals, and at times we're somewhat hesitant to publicize that because we're not doing it for the recognition. We're doing it for the right reasons. We have a number of guys that go out and read at elementary schools all the time, and so we think as a staff, and I believe strongly that if you can have an effect on somebody's life, you need to take advantage of it. And these guys have figured that out. Plus, they're developing relationships. They go around and meet people at hospitals and go out in the community and do things. And we've seen it turn around and work in their favor, where somebody gets to know them and gives them a job later, and it's just benefited them and it benefits us. But the most important thing we can do is spend some time with young kids that don't have the same opportunities that we do.
I don't think anybody's asked you this, but he's worn them for a while. But did you sign off on Bailey's right shoes? Do you think that's part of the secret?
At times I actually forget about that. But honestly, my 9-year-old, who spends a lot of time kicking now out here on the field after practice, he asks me about those shoes, and I'm not sure where those came from. But if he kicks it through the uprights, he can wear whatever he wants.
Mike, you're on the national stage, and Oklahoma State's a national program now, but can you tell when you're recruiting or when talking with people outside of basically your recruiting area that it helps? Can you see where being on the national stage in a game like this helps?
In recruiting? Well, I think people see us considerably different than they did 5 years ago, anywhere in the regional part of the country. Even further out than that, when we have communication with future student athletes or prospective student athletes on the East Coast and even out in the West Coast. People see us differently now than they ever had before. So when you get an opportunity to play on TV, obviously you can take advantage of it. I think most schools feel that way, but I would agree that people see us somewhat different now than they have in the past.
So how many coaches will you send out on the road this weekend?
The maximum. I think
6?
the rules change every year, so I don't say anything. They just tell me where to go. But I think that you can send out, the rule changed again. I think that you can designate a certain day or 2 days during the fall evaluation period where you can send out 10.
So if you've got 90%, 95% of your slots accounted for, you're out as much looking at juniors as you are seniors, right?
That's correct. We're just out looking at seniors and maybe juniors playing in the game. So you can't talk to anybody anyway.
Right.
I went out this week earlier. I was out on the road on Tuesday. And you go in, you can watch tape and look at get academic information and visit with coaches, and it's always been the same way. That's do you want to get these kids down here and say hi, and it's no. We don't even bump into them anymore. Just go do your job and go to the next school.
You were talking about the days you can designate 10 to go out. Would this be that type?
I think it is. I think so. I'm out, and usually when I go out, it's a big number. So I think today or tomorrow and Saturday are days that we can have 10 guys out.
Would you talk about jumbling your schedule around a little bit to accommodate these earlier week games? And gone are the days you're going to play Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
What thought process goes into how you approach each of these different days?
Much different when you don't have an open week. When you have an open week like we do now, you don't have as much shuffling involved because you can prepare this week and then you fit your schedule starting next week accordingly based on your day that you're going to play the game. When you play a Saturday game and a Thursday game, it's much more difficult.